What's up, everybody? It is me, Erica, with Artist Till Death, and I wanted to show you canvas and also this painting that I did that was inspired by Victor Baroni, but it was done with different materials, and I love how it turned out, and I would love for you to sit around and spend the next 12 minutes and see how I did it, and let me know which of these is your favorite. So I started with some hot press watercolor paper and drew out my irregular shapes, and I'm using watercolor to do all of the painting. And I'm sorry if you hear some weird squeaky sounds in the background. That is canvas playing. I will edit in a video of what she's doing in just a minute so you guys can see. So this is really the first time I've been using watercolors, really, and I'm using watercolor brushes donated to us, gifted to us by Shane Stoner. So thank you, Shane. I've learned that the type of brush you use is very important. It carries the paint way different, and it'll hold a different amount of paint, a different amount of water, and it can definitely make a difference. And where I've kind of played around and learned what I'm doing, how do I say this? The little slivers that I like best are the ones where I used a lot less paint and a lot more water, a lot like when I do alcohol inks. The things that I ended up liking the best. Also, I have a fly that keeps buzzing around. You will see. I have named him Fred the fly. Also, canvas came around a lot and played with me while I was doing this, since I like to art on the floor. So back to what I was saying. When you dilute your paper a lot and then add your watercolor paints, for me, it looks the best. And the way I got a lot of the gradients that you'll see is to dip my paintbrush in the very watered down watercolors and then put just the tip of it in just solid paint. And then I can create those gradient lines. And then that it looks like a more natural shadow. And that's something you'll see me do throughout this piece. And I also do a lot of what I just did, adding some color and then taking a brush that has a whole bunch of just water on it or just a similar color watered down paint and then blurring out those lines. And I leave a lot of white negative space that's just showing through the color of the paper. And I found that the more random I lay down the background color, the more natural it looks. And then I'll just kind of make the flow of each of the sections based on how the random application of colors on the background ends up laying out. Those ended up being a lot more natural looking to me and ended up being my more favorite ones. It's not the ones that I put a whole bunch of work into, a whole bunch of color and lines and all the stuff. The ones that I like the most were just where I laid out very light color and then had breaks of white showing through, and then added just a little bit of a harsher line in random places. So that's my best tip to using watercolor. Have the proper paper, the proper paintbrush, and then working with a lot of water and keeping things on the lighter side. Pardon the sounds, because this is what's happening right behind me while I am voiceovering. Just so you know what the fun sounds are. So anyways, back to the art. I add some white, there's that fly again. Some white watercolor as well to a lot of these stones. And actually, my camera blipped in a second Oh, does Canvas come to say hello? Do you guys have any pets? Do you let them in your art space? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, so for this piece, I am using burnt sienna, raw sienna, natural, and phthalo blue and phthalo green. And I'm using just diluted versions of all of those in various forms for this piece. And I'm using the tube watercolor. I don't know if that makes a big difference, but that's what I'm using for these. Okay, come here. So, I don't know even what else to tell you guys in between all of these different stones. I will say I didn't use any references in terms of how to lay out each one of the stones, and that may have helped me to create a more realistic look. And also what helped me create more realistic look is putting like a wash of white over some of the stones to soften them out after the first layer is dried. And you'll see that in a second. And also having lines that alternate in different directions. Hope that didn't scare you guys. It scared me a little bit. Also, what really pulls it together is the textured, like Kintsukuroi lines, but we're not there yet. Also, Canvas still says hi. On a lot of these that you can see the paints spreading and softening out on their own, I have put water down just in that square, or, you know, not square, but the shape. I'm doing one shape at a time where I'll put water down and blend it out with just more water. These, I've decided I didn't like the more like lined look, and so I softened that out, which is fine. All you have to do is put water on it to soften them out. Some of this video didn't record because someone called me while I was filming and it stopped, but I did another piece similar to this one that I'm going to show you more up close, like this vantage point soon. So a real super awesome trick that I learned from Victor is to put a line of white Posca pen, and then I put a paintbrush with white watercolor under it to kind of smudge it and feather out the look. But again, I'll have all of that full process in an upcoming video. The next one that I do like this will have that whole process in it. Now my ADHD self is drawing lines that aren't like in order, because why be normal? And on each of these lines, you'll notice that I rounded the corners. I didn't want anything sharp, angled, and this is just regular hot glue. You're not going to be able to see it. So you can use a hot glue that is probably going to yellow. And I thought it would be sticky long enough, but it ended up not being sticky long enough. So I am going over it with an adhesive that I just squirted onto the lines, and used like a trash paintbrush to make sure of having it everywhere. And then I let it set on my hot glue for probably 2 hours, and then came back and started applying my gold leaf. This isn't true gold leaf, it's like gold metal leaf. That works just fine if you don't have actual gold leaf. And then I let that sit on there for like 15 minutes, and then I'm kind of varnishing it and dusting it off with this very soft feathered paintbrush. If you use a paintbrush that is too stiff, you could kind of tarnish or scratch your gold leaf. So use something very soft and fluffy. Also, since I let the glue dry a little bit too long and it wasn't my APS adhesive, some of it dried instead of remain tacky. So I had to go back and kind of push in loose gold leaf into the areas that it kind of gapped. So I had to like go back in and patch it, but that's fine. Gold leaf is very versatile, and it ended up being seamless. But a little tip there is don't go to dinner and think that any adhesive will just stay tacky while you're gone, because sometimes that doesn't work. So you have to go back and patch it. But the APS adhesive, if I would have used it, would have been tacky still, and I wouldn't have had to go back through and do a lot of patchy work. But if you're going to do it all at one time, then I think it was the Deco foil adhesive that I used on this one would have been fine. Now you can see the piece really coming together. It's funny how you can see a piece and it just not really look like what you were going for until it's almost completely finished. This is a handheld vacuum that I got from Amazon. I have the link to my Amazon down in the description below. Hi, Miss Ma'am. She was my buddy through this whole process. And that's how I did this. I'm so sorry that a lot of the whitewashing that I did on some of them wasn't filmed, but on my next video of my watercolor, you'll see that. And I think I'm going to coat it in resin. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the description box below. Be kind to one another, because you never know what someone's going through. And always remember that we do the test, so you don't have to. And we'll see you guys in the next video.